The man is fixing a window when suddenly a shadow shows up. At first he even thinks this is his friend, but then a gunshot goes off right away. The man realizes that what he is facing is actually Dapper Jack, so he quickly runs away before the situation becomes worse. Meanwhile, the tourists who are visiting Sorghum City have no idea that danger is coming closer. Dapper Jack soon appears and makes everyone panic and flee. He keeps attacking the town with his twisted smile. The tourists can only abandon everything and try to escape as they are terrified by the sight of an outlaw cowboy ghost. On the next morning, the Mystery Inc. is already on the Mystery Machine heading toward Sorghum City. It turns out that Shaggy has been invited by his cousin to spend some time at Crazy Q Ranch. While Velma is doing her research about the ranch, she finds out that they even created a website, but the font is horribly ugly. Daphne has to hand Velma a small bag so she can calm down. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy start to feel hungry, but they only find one single Scooby snack. Both of them are about to play rock, paper, scissors to decide who gets it, yet Scooby-Doo sneaks and eats it first. The gang finally arrives at Sorghum City. They see that the place does not even have a single person around, so they start questioning if they have come to the wrong location. Shaggy then volunteers to ask the townsfolk himself. Even though he has a friendly appearance together with an enthusiastic attitude, the people in town react as if they are seeing a ghost the moment they notice him. This makes Shaggy confused and truly upset. After that, the gang arrives at Crazy Q Ranch, but Shaggy refuses to step out of the car because he feels ashamed. The other three have no choice but to follow his wish. Crazy Q Ranch is holding a tour, and it attracts the Gunderson family. There is Mrs. Midge and Mr. Andy, their daughter Desdemona, and their young son Buddy G, who is already a successful rapper despite his young age. The Gundersons come here in order to get away from the pressure of being famous, but they do not expect that Buddy G has a fear of horses. Besides them, there are two television producers named David and Dave, along with two sisters, Carrot and Sharon, who always stay cheerful. They constantly prank each other but still manage to remain optimistic without going overboard. Suddenly a golden horse neighs, and that sound terrifies Buddy G. However, Kyle and Larry reassure everyone that Buckstitch will not attack anyone while it is still confined. Both of them are the horse wranglers of Crazy Q Ranch. Lunch is being prepared at the right moment when the gang arrives. The mention of food makes Scooby-Doo and Shaggy rush out of the car immediately, yet they do not expect their sudden appearance to frighten the others. It even makes Rafe bring out his hunting rifle when he hears the name Dapper Jack. Only after the Mystery Inc. explains that everything is nothing more than a case of mistaken identity do the people finally calm down. Rafe then brings Shaggy to meet his third cousin, who is named Tawny. And when she sees him, she has no choice but to admit that Shaggy looks almost exactly like their ancestor, whose name is Dapper Jack Rogers. After that, she begins to tell the story of what happened the previous night. The ghost of Dapper Jack appeared in the small town of Sorghum and created so much fear that the place now looks empty, because so many shops are shut down and so many people are afraid to leave their homes. The ghost shows himself in a way that is both frightening and unpleasant. He breathes out blue fire that lights up the dark streets, and wherever he goes there is a smell that is heavy and burning. Dapper Jack was already known long ago as a merciless gunslinger. His name alone was enough to spread fear, and even though he died a long time ago, his ghost still comes back to torment the entire town. Fred hears all of this and quickly realizes that it may turn into a mystery that only they can solve. While Shaggy cannot accept the idea that someone in his own family was such a criminal, in his heart he feels afraid that the same blood running through his veins will one day push him into doing terrible things, like stealing a Scooby snack from his best friend Scooby-Doo. Rafe continues the story and explains that Dapper Jack was the most feared outlaw the town ever had to face. He roamed the land with his vicious dog Atlas. They drove away cattle. They stole money. They hurt both the old and the young. They picked on the weak whenever they wanted, and he even refused to return his library books on time. No words could describe him fully unless those words were the harshest. Life in the town only began to change when a man named Sheriff Rufus Carmichael appeared, because he fought against the outlaw and then wrote a book that told everything about him. When the air in the room starts to feel heavy, Tawny decides to break it by saying that lunch is already prepared, so Scooby-Doo and Shaggy run straight toward the table without thinking of anything else. As the day moves on and the night finally arrives, the gang spends the evening inside an old house, where Daphne complains that the furniture is too useless to be comfortable, while Fred discovers a net that turns out to be surprisingly strong. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy at the same time are whispering to each other about what they are going to eat next, because at night they always feel the need for 2 or 3 extra meals before they are satisfied, sometimes even eating lunch right after they finish breakfast. A sharp scream suddenly cuts through the night and pulls everyone outside, where they see the ghost of Dapper Jack spreading chaos at Crazy Q Ranch. Fred decides to test the net he has found, but the plan fails in the worst possible way. Red wants to test the net that he has just discovered, but in an unexpected twist it turns into a case of his own plan backfiring against him. At the very same time, Dapper Jack becomes aware of the presence of the Mystery Inc., so he immediately begins to give chase. Out of the entire group, it is only Scooby-Doo together with Shaggy who fall directly into his line of sight, which forces the two of them to rush at full speed straight into the old house. At first they come up with the idea of pretending to be decorations to avoid attention, yet their disguise does not escape the sharp eyes of Dapper Jack. That means Scooby-Doo and Shaggy have no other choice but to continue running with all the energy they have, and he decides to imitate the gestures of his ancestors. He copies the movements almost exactly, but unfortunately he is still spotted at the very last moment. Meanwhile, Velma together with Daphne intend to go and check on the situation, but without warning they become the next targets chosen by Dapper Jack. This dangerous turn of events forces Scooby-Doo to drag Shaggy back into the scene in order to rescue their two friends. Just as Dapper Jack is preparing to close in on Velma and Daphne, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy arrive in time. Their attempt may look clumsy, yet it succeeds in driving him out of the house. The Misty Inc. rushes outside with the purpose of capturing him, but to their surprise he has vanished into thin air like a wandering ghost. After that moment, everyone decides to lie down and rest, though Scooby-Doo and Shaggy choose instead to stay outside in order to keep watch. Before long, morning comes, and luckily nothing bad has happened during the night. Then the Mystery Inc. begins their investigation, but Scooby-Doo and Shaggy focus entirely on breakfast. The two of them end up eating the entire table of food that was originally prepared for 100 people. While that happens, Velma and Daphne are speaking with Tawny. Velma explains that she has noticed many stores selling her allergy medicine have already closed down. Tawny then reveals that a company named Black Rattler Management has been buying failed businesses at a cheap price. They once offered to buy her farm, yet since she has lived here since childhood she cannot possibly leave. During all of this, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy remain occupied with breakfast, but suddenly Kyle together with Larry appear in order to perform a small show before taking visitors to see the horses. Fred feels intrigued by what he sees, so he asks if he can join the performance, and Larry gives him permission. Afterwards, he together with Scooby-Doo and Shaggy begin to investigate for clues. Out of nowhere, a man shows up and mistakes Scooby-Doo for a horse. It turns out to be Zeke, whose poor eyesight causes him to repeatedly try placing a saddle on Scooby-Doo. Once he realizes that Scooby-Doo is in fact a dog, he moves on, though he continues to confuse things around him. With no other option left, Zeke forces a smile, offers a farewell, and then walks away from the three. At this point, Fred notices a strange powder lying on the ground. He quickly brings it to Tawny for examination, and she identifies it as looking very much like boric acid, a type of pesticide that farmers often use. Meanwhile, Velma and Daphne are investigating in the town of Sorghum. Daphne gets excited when she sees a cowboy fashion store, so she tells Velma to go ahead without her. Velma walks into a museum that also works as a bait and tackle shop. She asks the owner about Dapper Jack, but he only gives short, careless answers, which makes Velma feel annoyed. Then the moment Daphne shows up, the shop owner suddenly changes completely. He tells both of them they can find more information about Dapper Jack behind this door. Inside, Velma and Daphne discover the diary box of Sheriff Rufus Carmichael, but someone has already been there before them and taken the diary away. That means there must be something hidden. Someone trying to cover up the past of Dapper Jack. Even the shop owner doesn't notice because people go in and out of this place all the time. He even complains that he is about to sell his shop to a company called Black Rattler Management. On the other side, Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and Fred arrive at the stables. Fred is confident he can handle all the horses here. When he sees Kyle climbing onto a horse with ease, Fred tries the same, but it looks strange, unlike Fred. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy look calm since the horse shows no resistance to them. Then comes the part with the lasso. Fred accidentally ropes himself instead of the cattle, while Shaggy easily ties up all four legs of Scooby-Doo in a move that surprises Larry. At the same time, Buddy G feels terrified standing close to a horse. He fears it might stomp on him or lose control. Seeing that Scooby-Doo starts to show his riding skills, proving to Buddy G that it isn't scary at all. In fact, it can be fun and even drawing everyone's attention. Still, Buddy G cannot stop imagining the horse might attack him. Then Velma and Daphne return. They see everyone laughing at Fred, who insists on shoeing a horse. At first Fred thinks it's simple, but he soon realizes it's far more difficult than he imagined. Evening falls, yet Mystery Inc. still hasn't found any new clue. Then Dapper Jack shows up once again to terrify the town of Sorghum. He lets the horses loose and sends them running wild. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy fail to escape and get thrown onto one horse's back. At first the horse is violent, wrecking everything around, but after Scooby-Doo whispers something to it, it suddenly calms down. Then the gang goes back to the inn. Fred unfortunately has a sprained ankle. They discuss the clues and the suspects, noticing that Black Rattler management has been buying up local properties for cheap. Velma also discovers that boric acid powder can burn into a green flame. Fred then spots David and Dave sneaking out at night, which looks suspicious, so Mystery Inc. decides to follow them. Soon David and Dave stop their car near a cliff. The gang watches them pulling out something that looks like a rifle. Shaggy, unable to see clearly, so he stumbles forward. He panics thinking they are about to shoot, not realizing they are only holding a tripod. Although Shaggy is able to cling onto a small piece of rock, he cannot keep holding it for long. It is fortunate that Scooby-Doo jumps down in time so that he can pull Shaggy back, yet very soon both of them also fall. They try to hang onto a branch, but destiny continues to mock them when the branch breaks apart. Even though they land on the ground without failing, the troubles are not over because a rock slide comes rushing toward them, but because the two of them live with kindness in their hearts. Both Scooby-Doo and Shaggy do not suffer from the impact. After that, the Mystery Inc. speaks out about their suspicion when they see David and Dave moving at night. The two admit that they only take some photographs while scouting the terrain for their next movie, a movie about Dapper Jack together with the heroic Sheriff Rufus Carmichael. Not only that, they also mix together science fiction with superhero themes and zombie elements by turning Dapper Jack into a zombie robot alien who has superpowers that come from the future. David and Dave then suggest to the mystery organization that if they want to investigate further about Dapper Jack, they should go to his graveyard. At this place, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy make a discovery that is both shocking and absurd because the convenience store has already closed its door. Meanwhile, Daphne notices that there is a strange green mist surrounding the graveyard. Right when Mystery Inc. finally finds the grave of Dapper Jack, there is suddenly a burst of green flame that rises upward. It says that evil is still alive, and right at that moment Dapper Jack appears. He wastes no time and immediately rides his horse to chase after the gang. He even turns his attack toward the mystery machine, which forces everyone to change direction. Although they switch to a boat, he still shows no sign of letting them go. When he sees two paths ahead, he forces them toward his chosen way, which is the path that leads straight to the waterfall. Shaggy reacts quickly and throws a rope toward a nearby tree in order to hold everyone back. Yet the branch has its limit and breaks. Right as the group is about to plunge into the fall, the branch wedges itself between two rocks. By the time the morning comes, they finally succeed in escaping danger. All of a sudden, Tawny appears with a face full of worry because she has not seen them through the entire night. She kindly gives them a ride back to the mystery machine so they can continue their work. Before leaving, Velma insists on checking the grave of Dapper Jack. It turns out that the culprit has used UV powder to create the writing. Scooby-Doo even finds the speaker system that he forgot. After that, the Mystery Inc. returned to the Crazy Q Ranch, where they found Tawny decorating the place in preparation for the dance. Suddenly, Daphne discovered UV powder inside a barrel and asked Tawny about it. Tawny explained that anyone could take some from the ranch, but then her face darkened as she revealed she was about to sell the entire ranch to Black Rattler management to pay off the mortgage. Fred quickly suggested that Shaggy could handle it by entering the horseback riding competition with a prize of $10,000. With Shaggy's natural-born talent and Scooby-Doo's gift of speaking with horses, victory seemed inevitable. Night falls and the contest begins with a special performance from the young rapper Buddy G. After finishing his song, he is surrounded by fans, though his fear of horses still lingers. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo is about to talk to the horse when suddenly old Zeke shows up. He still mistakes Scooby for a horse, and Buddy G right away suggests he wants to ride him. At the same time, the others see Shaggy struggling to climb on the real horse, and they think he might get hurt, so they ask him to wear full protection. In the end, Scooby-Doo forgets about talking to the horse and becomes Buddy's horse instead. Thanks to that, Buddy finally overcomes his fear of horses. Shaggy is also placed on a horse with every piece of gear possible. When the gang notices Scooby on the other side, they realize he still hasn't talked to the horse. That leaves Shaggy to face the wild horse on his own, but with the talent he inherited from his ancestor Dapper Jack, he manages to show the horse who the real master is. Just as everyone is clapping, the lights suddenly go out. Dapper Jack rises from the green fog and chaos erupts in the competition. But the gang already prepared a trap. Then another surprise comes when the cattle break free. Even though Daphne and Fred reset the trap, Dapper Jack escapes. The Gunderson family is now chased by the herd. Shaggy quickly rides out with Scooby-Doo to help. They see how bad the situation is and get close to the cattle. Scooby-Doo tells them to go back to the pen, but they refuse. Only when the others arrive and Velma starts sneezing non-stop from her allergy to horses do the cattle turn their heads. After that, the mayor announces Shaggy is the winner and he gets the prize of $10,000. Shaggy keeps his promise and gives the money to Tawny so she can save the Crazy Q Ranch. A party follows right away until Velma suddenly yells to catch the culprit. She had predicted that the net might fail, so she covered it with UV powder. When Kyle walks near the light, the glowing marks appear. Still, Velma and Fred realize the case is not over because he had an accomplice. The cattle were freed to rescue him. Searching Kyle's house, they find 2 guns and the mask. Daphne also notices the journal of Sheriff Rufus Carmichael with a card of Black Rattler management. Soon the gang gathers everyone to reveal the truth. Dapper Jack and Atlas were good men who always helped others, and Rufus was the one jealous of him. He framed Dapper Jack for stealing cattle and pushed him to his death. Then he disguised himself as the outlaw and created the fake legend of a hero. When the story ends, Velma points at Rafe and says he is the partner. Rafe tries to escape, but Scooby-Doo catches him. Cornered, he admits he signed a deal with a resort company. They promised millions if they could take over the town of Sorghum, so he used the name of Black Rattler Management to secretly buy land. The font on his website and his business card is the final proof. No one expects him to break free from the ropes and run with the stolen $10,000. Buddy G and Scooby-Doo chase him and manage to grab onto the wagon. Shaggy follows on Buckstitch, the famous horse called Lightning. It is night, so Fred lights fireworks to guide Shaggy. Buddy G crawls under the wagon while Scooby-Doo takes back the money before Rafe attacks Shaggy. Caught off guard, he cannot stop Buddy G from unhooking the horses to end his escape. In shock, Rafe sees Shaggy's shadow like Dapper Jack and faints. Police arrive to take him away. Tawny is left with nothing but gratitude and says thank you twice for everything the gang has done. The legend of the outlaw Dapper Jack is replaced by the truth of Rufus Carmichael, the sheriff turned criminal. Later, when the gang says goodbye, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy see a familiar figure. Maybe it is the spirit of Dapper Jack showing up to thank Shaggy.